Good morning, all. I'm going to go ahead and get some of our speakers in here, and we'll get started pretty shortly. So feel free to hang out for a second. Tumultuous markets, as always. We wouldn't have it any other way. And we're about ready to get into the thick of it. So there we go. I see Trend Spider. All right. Morning, Jason.
Howdy, Gav. How you doing?
I am good. I'm good. Still working out with this whole PST thing being 9 a.m. here right now, but it's going. How about you?
Yeah, how's that treating you?
It's okay. Made it to sleep by 12, 15 this time last night. After I gotta say though, the food here is
Nice.
crazy. Yeah, they got
You're
some
in
of the
LA,
best food
right?
I've ever had. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
I had the best sushi in my life last night. So
Well, that
I
makes
gotta
sense.
say they're
Cool.
doing they're doing something right.
It's that whole being close to the
All
ocean
right.
part.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Let me go ahead and shoot a message to Dan and over to Ben and okay. All right, Jason, we already have you here, so we can go ahead and start chatting a little bit here. How are we feeling about this market today?
I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. Kind of came up in, at least SPY came up into a level that was of interest for me, that 406.40 level, kind of let me open up here and see the highs from May 9th. That was kind of a first target. And we were not able to, I mean, we ever so slightly gained that level on the open this morning, but failed it pretty much instantly. I'm not sure. I mean, my gut instinct, I was talking to Ben yesterday, Pattern Profits Ben, and we were talking about the idea of the markets climbing a wall of worry, right? That's like a pretty common saying. Everybody's worried right now. Everybody's really scared. So if SPY were to continue to gain, it wouldn't shock me. I kind of had 412 on my radar as like a big target for this week. Will we get there? I don't know. We definitely could. I mean, it's only Tuesday. But that's kind of where my head's at on it. I haven't even looked at the Qs today. I've just been watching SPY. It's always my focus. But yeah, I mean, it wouldn't shock me. It wouldn't shock me if we continue gaining. How much steam we have once we get to that 412, or maybe at the very, very best, like a 420 level. I don't know if we can get much past that, but those are kind of the two big levels that I had on my radar.
Perfect. Okay, let me go ahead and get this pinned up top. So, all right. Okay, so I went ahead and I pinned up top a post for the audience. Should be up there in just a minute. It has been taking a second longer for stuff to pin. Wait, stock market news, let me get you. On that post, for anyone in the audience, I'm sure a lot of you have different tickers and pieces and stuff like that, which you would like to have charted, probably get a little bit of insight from some of the top traders up here. And you have that opportunity. So go ahead, just go to my last post and I'll hit pin again in case it decided to pin this time. And you can go ahead and just comment any ticker that you would like onto that post, and we'll go ahead and make our way around to it. We made it through, I don't know, 15, 20 on that post last time, plus some other market sentiment. So should be a good time. But yeah, one more time, that post is pinned up top. Is also my last tweet. Just go ahead and comment any ticker or stock or whatever it is that you'd like on it. Let's go over to yourself, Ben. Would love to get your thoughts here, current market sentiment and how you're approaching.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. The bounce, where we go from here, I think that's the big question. I did hear Jason talking earlier about, climbing that wall of worry, and we have plenty of that worry, but just how far up the wall can we climb? The Qs and SPY pushing in and through the 10-day moving average, a good start, but it's the 20 or 21 EMA that's acted as resistance, significant resistance when we had that previous rally. So we'll have to see if the bulls have enough gas in the tank to take it a little bit higher. I'd love to see like maybe a run back towards the 50-day moving average. I think there's potential for that, and then kind of see uh, how things are acting. Growth still not really kind of set up like I'd like. Normally on a day like today, with the Nasdaq up almost 2%, there'd be growth names that have my attention. I don't see much of that. Instead, I'm looking at things like Merck and Bristol Myers and Lilly, and things that aren't your typical growth stock names, but they're the things that are showing relative strength and acting well. And we dismiss Merck as a slow mover in the mid 80s, and now we're in the mid 90s a week later. So there's money flowing into these names. I'm watching the flow too. There's flow into that group. It's just really tough for someone like me who focuses more on growth to really kind of get aggressive here. I mean, I look at the IWO too, which is back above the 10-day moving average, but that's one that I really want to see start to participate, because that's kind of where I live, is in small cap growth. And I was thrilled to see, the inside days. I'm kind of known for always keeping an eye on those inside days. And the ones we had yesterday, they all came out to the upside in the Qs and in the IWO. So it's a start. Just going to have to see how far it can take us. And then I know we've got Powell on deck, I think at 2:00 Eastern. So his comments may also play a big role in the short term. But bigger picture, I want to see some growth participating. I'd like to see some setups there in growth groups, and not Hershey and Coca-Cola.
So being that you're looking here for SPY to potentially have resistance at the 20-day, that's all the way up at closer to that 416, 415 level right now, right?
Right.
Okay,
Well,
so are
we'll say
you
on SPY, like 21 EMA, about 413, 414 area. So I do think that first level to watch is that prior low, that February low, 410.64. And that would be kind of, if we do see any continuation of this today after Powell and into the close, I'd be watching 410.64 first, and then roughly that 413, 414 area.
okay, perfect. I also noticed, let's see what else is coming down here. I got too many indicators on. Yeah, I'm looking at okay, I see that EMA, that 21 EMA that you're pointing at, that's sitting there. And then right above it, okay, got it. Just looking at a couple pieces here. There's a lot of volume up there too as well, right? I noticed we're kind of in a much lower volume zone at the moment.
Yeah, if you're to zoom out, and I try to keep that volume by price, like even going back to the COVID lows, we're kind of in a little window right here up to that prior low. It basically runs from maybe 395 up to about 410, where there's kind of a little window there where there's not a lot of volume, and that tends to act like a vacuum and bring price. And that's kind of what we're seeing. Tends to once we get like stabilization and price stabilizes, kind of brings that price up to that next level of more volume. And that, if we can, it kind of starts at that 410 area, but all the way up to like 417, even into like 420, before it really gets more significant. So you can kind of see price, like I said, that volume pocket there and that volume shelf act like a vacuum and just kind of whoop, suck that price right up back to those levels.
Perfect. Okay, appreciate the insight there, Ben. Yeah, that would be nice to see that just jolt right back up towards there. Yeah, a lot of other interesting movement though going on today. So I see a couple people already dropping names. One more time, if you weren't in here when I said it before, drop us some tickers. Go ahead. It is the pinned tweet up top. If you're in the space, might as well participate. It's also my last tweet that I put out. And all you have to do is just go ahead and comment the ticker. It's the one where I talked about joining us for the space and put out something about the space. So just drop some tickers on there, and we're happy to go ahead and take them and chart them. Ready to see a couple coming in. But Danny, let's go to you first to get your thoughts on how you're approaching this market right here.
Hey, good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, I should say. Yes, pretty good morning so far. I think yesterday on the earlier spaces called out the 285, excuse me, the 280 calls on NVIDIA, rolled up to those 285s later in the day, closed those out at 283 resistance today, and caught another trade off of that 618 retracement minute. So NVIDIA has been on my focus. I think semis in general, pretty strong. AMD having a beautiful day today, up 7% through that $100 mark. Let me just turn my volume down here. So yeah, I think, when I'm looking at SPY and the Qs, I'm seeing a pretty clear ABC retracement with that C wave, very distinct 5-wave move down. Caught the bottoms on both of those in terms of the wave structure. And just like Ben said, watching 405 on SPY, and let me go back over to my Q chart. 303, I think, is the level I want to see hold. We have gaps above on both the Qs and the SPY. Q up to 309, SPY up to 410. I think that's what Ben had mentioned. Very looking at it very similarly. Shippers have been doing well, although they've taken a little bit of a pullback. So we've had some good trades on STNG, INSW. And yeah, today seeing a little bit of a bounce in was it AR and some oil related names. So energy looking at bouncing here. Just looking at some of my notes, but overall, pretty decent in terms of finding the relative strength. But I'm with Ben. I don't want to look at the Nestle's of the world. They get quite boring, although they're very tradable. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're just not sexy. And I think that's the biggest problem that most traders that are so used to trading growth and tech names, they just can't wrap their minds around trading some of these consumer staple names, the General Mills of the world, right? But by the time you finally wrap your mind around it, we might be cycling back. So I think in this environment, you have to be open to going to different sectors. Obviously, oil and gas has been really big. But the shipper, started off with Zim, then STNG, INSW. I know there's a couple more out there. They've been performing really, really well. STNG were up a little over 50%, and I think there's still another 40% upside on that. Ben, I think that came off of one of your relative strength scans not too long ago. So good call out on that. I think I grabbed that name from that list. So teamwork makes the dream work. That's why we do these spaces, and hope that we find some good ideas today.
Perfect. Thank you, Danny. Okay. All right. Stock market news. Evan, I want to pull it to you for just a second. I know you're not charting the market right here, but we did have some pretty big earnings that from this morning are affecting the market. I see SE, I see Walmart. Any other news stories that should be on people's radar?
Yeah, so first of all, Walmart, not a name that we would normally come out and say. I feel like it's been a darling in the last couple of years, but it is getting destroyed today, down 10% now. And, I guess we're kind of getting a little desensitized to the word destroy, I guess, in this market. It's changed terms when you're seeing stocks down 80, 90%. But for a Walmart type company to be down 10%, I think that still fits the definition there I want to say nicely, but it's not nice if you're a Walmart shareholder, which I know there's a bunch out there. Watching that, I know Home Depot definitely had a little bit of a better quarter, although I did hear it turned negative on the day. I've not been looking on it, so maybe there's some things there. Yeah, it is negative now. And then I'm also watching a lot of those 13F filings, the institutional investors, what they're doing, and kind of tracking that and seeing how it goes. So, we had Berkshire's out. We had pretty much every single person that came out. Warren Buffett does tend to get a lot of the praise there, but there is a lot more around it. We could dig into that a little bit later. Maybe we pull up and chart some of the most popular names there. A lot of exiting of Tesla, which was interesting to see. But that wasn't the only one that was happening there. One kind of anecdotal funny story that I still have to dig a little bit deeper into, but I thought it made me chuckle a little bit, we'll say. Bill Fong from Archegos Capital is seeking a probe of Morgan Stanley over short squeezes, according to Bloomberg. So, love hearing the good old Bill Huang, keeping him in the limelight for a little bit longer. That is a little bit of a joke. But yeah, just watching it, it's fascinating to see how this stuff unfolds. That headline gave me a little bit of a laugh, but I actually lied. I'm going to give you one more. There's nothing here for the stock market, but SpaceX, which I know is a very popular company. Employees are offering to sell shares via a private placement offering that would value the company around $125 billion. The last valuation was around $100 billion. So SpaceX is up about $25 billion in the private market valuation, or at least looking like that's how it's going to shape up. But I always like to add this in here before I quit the blabbering. Huge appreciation to the amazing speakers on this Spaces. Wolf is always up here 40 hours a week getting the best people on these spaces. So if you enjoy this type of live free content, make sure you're following Wolf. And you've heard on this space over the last 15 minutes, you're going to hear over the next 45 why these people are so smart, and why you should be following them. Improve your Twitter timeline, have a better experience on Twitter. Make sure you're following Ben, Danny. Massive shout out to the TrendSpider account. If you enjoy these spaces, one more time, make sure you're following Wolf. But I think that is pretty solid for me. C Limited also had earnings. Haven't looked at how it's moving. Popular stock on here, but yeah, I think that's definitely more than enough blabbering for me.
Perfect. I appreciate the updates there. I haven't even looked at Home Depot yet. That was one which I didn't touch just yet. But yeah, I do see they went from up about 5% to down flat around now. But yeah, pretty crazy to see moves like that in Walmart, especially since Walmart was one of the stocks which held up really, really well over the last year. A lot of stuff was fallen, especially through January, February, and Walmart, had kind of surged into April there and was sitting at 52-week highs. And it's still pretty high when you look on the 5-year chart, but it just kind of gave up those gains back for the last couple of months that it had sustained, running from those low 130s to the high 150s. So interesting to see that. All right, let's pull into some of these other names. Ben, would you like to start us out with a look at AMD and Tesla?
Sure. AMD, nice move off of the bottom, kind of a double bottom look there to it. It's a smaller little pattern, but you don't mind seeing that the 8402 on the left side of that double bottom low, and then you undercut that 8327 on the right side, and then came ripping back up to the 50-day. You had a pivot there. The center of that W, that's what you look for as the pivot. That was at 99.69. Now you're right back through the century mark, and I believe just now pushing through the 50-day now, which was 101.26, and it's trading 101.60. So nice, very nice move there, and kind of unexpected. Like, if there was one that I thought in that group would make that kind of move, I was leaning more towards NVDA, but AMD, kind of leading the semiconductors now. As strange as that even sounds coming out of my mouth, because it's one that I never seem to time right for whatever reason. I have a lot more success with NVIDIA and some of the smaller names in the group. But one thing I would look at with AMD is kind of a channel there too, off of the highs. So if you connect those highs, it still has a little bit more room to the upside. Let me see what level we're kind of looking at there. So basically you take the high there and connect, and we're getting up to about 112. So that would be the kind of upper end of that channel, where I'd be looking for some potential resistance. And then, of course, if you push through there and come out of that channel, you also have the 200-day a little bit higher at 117.60s. So still work to do, but this is a good start and one of the few that has been able to push back above the 50-day moving average. So that's a good start. Tesla, on the other hand, inside day today, needs to come out of there in one direction or the other. And obviously there's a lot of drama around Elon Musk right now on Twitter. So I think that's a huge distraction as far as Tesla goes. So uh, once, and it really, I don't really care which way it resolves, but once that Twitter drama does resolve, I think that helps Tesla. A lot of us, over these past spaces, we talked about that retest of the 700 level. We got that. We got as low as, I believe, 680. And it bounced now back above that level. So again, this kind of sets up as a shakeout on the right side, but you're not really seeing that real clean lift, off of that undercut and rally. And I think it's the overhang of what's going on with Twitter that's kind of affecting Tesla at this point. If we do start to see, let's say that inside day comes out to the upside, 10-day moving average first, which is just under 800, and then maybe can rally above that, 850 or so. You've got the 20-day. And this has such a huge influence on the general market. It's a growth stock leader as well. So, or at least it was prior to all the recent drama. So we'll see if it regains former glory and can start to climb up the right side. Do have a couple other resistance levels higher in the form of the 200-day. Both of those, the 200-day and the 50-day. 913 on the 200-day, 930 on the 50-day. So if you do start to get a run, those are definitely levels above to be aware of.
Perfect. Okay, yeah, Tesla definitely an interesting one, like you're just pointing out there. Seems to be trying to form that similar base like we saw back in February to push back higher. But we'll see. Kind of bouncing around here right off this line. And then I see you're going back and forth, Danny, on AMD with Pat. Looks like there's a good amount of call flow. Do you want to kind of elaborate on that?
What was that, on the AMD 105s?
Yeah.
Yeah, I caught that flow. I was actually in NVIDIA at the time, so I didn't want to double up same sector. But yeah, there was a nice sweeper in at 10:16 this morning for the 105 calls for 9:16. Then there was the 120 calls right after that. And then it came in again about 20 minutes later. So those are a little further dated out. And then we had a sweeper for this week come in at 11:35, fill at $1.25, 134,000 premium for the 105 calls, and then another 20 minutes after that, another sweeper for that for now for 617 on the 105. So a lot of call activity on the 105s, mixed dates, but yeah, I just saw the initial test of what we were talking about. This was with Vegas, was that 100 pivot level. So we initially saw that 100 test. It got rejected. There was probably a lot of sellers hanging out there, nice psychological level, sold into the initial push in, but then it quickly back tested 98, held, built a little bit of a base on a lower time frame, and then just blasted through 100. So yeah, it was really, really nice play. I didn't participate only because I was already in NVIDIA. But yeah, look really good. And if I could just touch really quick, I've been getting a lot of hate mail on Tesla because I did a YouTube video with my Tesla bear case, and people don't like that. I guess, listen, I love Tesla. I think Tesla is great long term. I still see us weak, like Ben said. I still feel like 500 to 550 can come, in the coming months. Don't know what the catalyst will be, but yeah, I love it long term. I just think short term, there's definitely a wave case for this to be a C wave down past the prior lows in February. So,
Got it. Yeah, I mean, it's a tricky stock, right? 1 second you're shooting back to all-time highs. Next thing you know, you're plummeting. Very, very volatile. All right, Dan, you want to take a look at ASTS?
sure. ASTS, you said?
Correct.
All right, let me go up to the weekly chart. Looks like it's or has been in a downtrend since it made its all-time high in February of 21. Looks like right now, if you zoom out on the weekly chart, it does look like it's making a higher low here. Let me do a fib retracement here. We did retrace past the 618 at $7.39. Jump on the daily chart here. We have stacked EMAs to the downside. Yeah, I mean, I don't know the stock, AST Space Mobile. Again, I could assume what kind of sector it's in. It looks pretty volatile. I think one way you could play it is wait for the break of the flag here, um, possibly over 8.95. An earlier entry could be over, let's see, $8 with a potential of hitting 10, maybe upwards of 11. That was the previous high at the top of the flag. But it looks like it just came down and filled a gap from early March. That gap was filled on May 11th. And we tried to retest the 21 declining 21 EMA on the daily chart and got rejected off of that the next day. And so now we're under a declining 8 moving average. So still looks pretty weak to me. But yeah, I think if we can crack over, I want to say like 830, then you have a shot at back to the highs at $10, maybe $11. Looks like there's a squeeze setting up, a daily squeeze. It's 4 dots in. It also looks like there was earnings yesterday. Don't know anything about that, but yeah, it looks like it's got a candle piercing to the downside here. So I would be careful if you're in, or if you're looking to get in. I would just wait for over 830, or maybe even over $9. But I think the risk to reward is pretty minimal to the upside. And I always consider stocks under $10 to be penny stocks. So they tend not to really respect technical analysis as well as some of the other bigger names. So you have to be careful here. But right now, it looks pretty weak. We had a squeeze fire to the downside in early April that sent us down now, and now we're back in the squeeze here. So I would hold off, wait a couple of days after earnings, see how earnings news is absorbed, and see if you can get some series of lower time frame, higher highs, higher lows after earnings, and see where we go from there. But yeah, just looking at the 30-minute chart, I think over $8, there's certainly a trade up to 9. But that's really all I'm seeing right now.
Okay, awesome, got it. All right, so a couple things right here. First off, we've made it through a good amount of the names. There's a couple more on here that I do see: UPS, Drio. Just a reminder to everyone in the audience, if you are here, I'm sure you're interested in some charting and some participation perhaps, go ahead and feel free to click into either of the posts that are up top. So there's 2 posts pinned up top in the nest. You can see those by just scrolling above my profile picture here, and you can click onto those and drop any charts or tickers or names that you would like on those. We would be happy to analyze those. And then again, the second post that is up top as well is a lot of people have been asking, I know people want to get with TrendSpider and check it out. That's what we're all using for charting. In fact, I have a couple people in my DMs right now that actually asked what tools we're using. We are using TrendSpider, but if you're going to sign up for TrendSpider, you may as well use the single largest discount code that is out there. This is 10 to 15% larger than any discount code you're going to find. And that is the code that is built in to the post that is up top. It is, I believe the code is just going to be WF25 if you have to type it in. But essentially, the link that is up top, you can click in and check it out. It's the one that talks about the worst way to trade is by trading blindly. So give yourself some eyes and ears within the market using TrendSpider. Today, we also, as everyone knows that comes weekly, we also do try to cover a different area of technical analysis, a feature that you can use to assist yourself each week. So today, we are going to be talking about candle pattern recognition. So we have Jason over here on the TrendSpider account. We have Ben and Danny, who are both TrendSpider users, and we're going to talk a little bit about candle pattern recognition specific to TrendSpider. You can probably use this concept in other areas, but if you're someone that's interested in doing technical analysis, it's important not to just be charting, but also to be learning and having an understanding. So Jason, I'll turn it over to you first to kind of give an explanation of what this is and why people should be using it.
Sure, yeah. I mean, so for most traders, one of the first things you're going to notice is candlesticks, right? First thing you're going to learn about is candlestick patterns. There are a lot of them out there, a lot of different ways to utilize them. The first piece on the tool that you can utilize to recognize candlestick patterns is the patterns button. It's up at the top left-hand corner next to your indicators button. And what this does is this is going to automatically highlight for you candlestick patterns on the chart. If you click on the 3 dots to the right of the button, you'll see a giant list of different candlestick patterns that we offer discoverability on. So, if you ever have had the issue of not being quite sure if a candle meets the mathematical requirements of a particular definition, whether it be a hammer or a doji or any of these candlestick patterns that a trader might utilize, you could just turn on the particular candlestick pattern of interest, and it's going to highlight it for you to let you know that it is or isn't meeting that criteria. That's kind of like the tool that allows all the other tools, all the other candlestick pattern recognition tools to work on the platform. So now that you have the ability to discover any candlestick pattern on the chart automatically, you can also utilize that functionality within the alerts, within the scanner, within the back tester. So you can be alerted on candlestick patterns, you can scan for them, you can back test them. If you're a stratter, you can scan for the different strat setups. We talked with Sarah all weekend about this sort of thing. Scanning for these setups is really important, right? Instead of manually going through lists of names, just scan for a 2-1 or a 3-1 rather, and then set your alerts on the 3 to be alerted, or set your alerts on the 1 to be alerted for the breakup or the breakdown, that sort of thing. That's really kind of, it's a very basic definition, but it takes a lot of the guesswork out of the equation, right? By automatically being able to detect where candlestick patterns are, it just makes the analysis that much easier for you.
Perfect. Ben, how do you implement candlestick analysis into your trading?
So the main thing I look for is those consolidations with inside days. I've already built my watch list out. So I have, the strongest relative strength names, the names that I've already researched the fundamentals. I may have a list of anywhere from 30 to 50 stocks, probably less in this market, but then I can go through those, scan them really quickly. What I'm looking for is inside days, inside weeks. While I'm not a textbook stratter, a lot of this is there's overlap there between what I do and what they do, and those inside days are the guide for me. I'm looking for that consolidation. I'm looking for where price gets tight, and ideally that's happening below an important pivot or below an important level. And then what I want to see, and for me, that inside day coming out to the upside is my trigger. So that gets me in. And then, when it confirms on the weekly, so let's say we were inside on the day, the daily comes out to the upside, what Jason was referring to as a 1-2. 1 is inside day, 2 means that inside day came out. So it comes out to the upside. And then maybe that triggers the weekly, which then triggers the pivot that everybody has their eyes on. And when I say pivot, I'm thinking more in terms of like a cup with handle pattern or a double bottom pattern, those traditional Can Slim, William O'Neill type patterns. So what that does for me, maybe within a handle of a cup with handle pattern, I've got a descending trend line drawn in, and the stock, it does an inside day on really light volume. Then the next day, that inside day confirms, comes out to the upside. I can take that right there ahead of those that are coming in on the descending trend line break, ahead of those that are coming in on the pivot break. A lot of times that early entry saves me, especially in the current market, saves me a lot of the drama that tends to happen around those pivots where there's a lot of eyes and everybody focused on one level. It makes a huge difference if like everybody's looking at, AMD at the 100 level, and I'm able to come in, at 94 or 96 and avoid all of that drama, that comes with the pivot that has all the eyes on it. So that's kind of how I focus on those inside days. I use the scans of my watch list to, put those front and center for me, and then kind of line up the technicals on the daily chart and on the weekly chart, so that I know, stratters will know what I mean as far as a simultaneous break. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for something where the inside day coming out triggers more things above, and I'm early because that inside day was my guide.
Perfect. And then you mentioned kind of using it as a scanner. So how do you build, this candle pattern recognition? What tools are you specifically using to take the pattern recognition and turn that into a list of names?
Sure, that's already built into TrendSpider, so it's just using the inside candle, the scan. So you could, go through the S&P 500, you can go through the Nasdaq Composite, the Nasdaq 100, you name it. I mean, you could do a certain industry group like biotech, but for me, I've already got my watch list of names built. So I just put into the scanner that I want to scan for inside day. Now you can choose a bullish inside day, a bearish inside day, which means they close above or below the open. So you can narrow that down even more. But what I'm usually looking for is late day, maybe the last 90 minutes or so. What stocks are showing me an inside day on really light volume and consolidating? So I use the TrendSpider scanner to go through my watch list, and it'll populate with the names that have, and you'll see me share it on Twitter a lot of times right before the close, about 10 minutes in. What are the bullish inside days? That means they're inside days, but they closed high in the range. They closed above the open, and they're just the names from my watch list. So that's how I use that. And then once I have that on my radar, then I just look at the day's high. That can be the trigger, or you can zoom into the shorter time frames. If you have an inside day, you know that you have a triangle on the 30-minute or the 60-minute time frame. You can zoom into that and then get an entry on the breakout. So, but it all starts with using the scanner, finding those inside days. The inside day tells you there's a consolidation, there's balance there between buyers and sellers. I want to get involved when that balance there shifts to one side or the other.
Love it. Love it. Danny, you want to weigh in on how you use it?
Yeah, actually, it's funny. I was chatting with Ruslan, one of the developers, TrendSpider, earlier today, because there's a pattern, there's a candlestick pattern that I want added to the system. It's called a double close key reversal, and you could be bearish or bullish. It's when the outside bar closes below the previous two bars. That's a bearish double close key reversal. And then the bullish double close key reversal is an outside bar that closes above the prior two candles closes. I find it on the higher time frames to be a really, really powerful reversal signal, and also a very good reversal signal on the lower time frames as well. So yeah, I mean, I do use some of those candlestick pattern recognitions, and I'm a big scanner, and very much like Ben was talking about. I think earlier in my scanning career, I would scan off of the major indices, but now I've built my own kind of proprietary list of names that I watch. It's I would say in the 300 to 400 stock range, and I'll scan off of that list and build out, very similar to Ben, using inside days, outside days, using some anchored view apps, some fib stuff, and I'll narrow it down to like maybe 30 to 50 names, and then I'll manually go through, because sometimes the eye can see much better than just a scan, and then it's really just the manual process of looking for ideal setups. But it all starts with the scanning and the watch list and the pattern recognition, but ultimately in the end, your own two set of eyes will start to recognize the things in trades that work for you, because everybody trades different. Very similar to what Ben was saying. I don't trade the strat, but I use some of the methodology in my trading, just to gain a little bit more of an edge.
Yeah, speaking of the strat, just to implement exactly what they're doing, for anyone that's in TrendSpider, you can go ahead and follow along. If you don't have this, you can try it out completely for free. Again, the link that is either in my bio or the one that is pinned up top, those will both get you 7 days completely free. You can test out these tools. Jason, there's also a whole bunch of videos and people on hand to like walk people or teach people stuff, teach them platform, answer questions they have, right?
Correct. Yeah, we've got a couple of different ways that you can gain knowledge about the platform. The quickest and the fastest way is through chat support. Down on the bottom right-hand corner of your account, you'll see a little button that says Contact Us. That's a direct feed into our employee chat room. So we have live employees on hand 20 hours a day, Monday through Friday, and on Saturday, about 8 hours per day, there to answer any platform-related questions that you might have. We also offer free webinars Monday through Thursday that you can sign up for. You don't have to be a subscriber to the platform in order to sign up and attend those free webinars. If you are a subscriber to the platform, however, we do offer free one-on-one trainings for all of our users as well. Those are kind of, you can use them as much as you need to, and you can sign up within the platform. You can sign up via chat if you want. And those are 45-minute long screen shares with a trainer, expert, a product expert. And they can answer questions from, how to build out scan ideas that you have or how to use specific tools. They can give you just a basic run through of the entire platform. It's really all about what you as a user need. So we're here to assist everybody that we can. We just want to make users feel comfortable on the platform. That is our big goal. So we try to have as much utility there to provide them with that onboarding process.
Perfect. And just as like an example for anyone that's kind of trying to do this, I went ahead while we were doing this, I clicked in the market scanner, which is in the top right. And then I was like, everyone's kind of mentioning the strat and how they use it. Well, to be honest, I watched Rob, who created the strat. I watched him live in Vegas this weekend to explain how he does it. And to be honest, I didn't really comprehend fully. We'll put it out there. It takes a couple go rounds, I think. However, I have the strat scanner built into, or at least the FTFC example built into my TrendSpider. So I just clicked on that. I scanned the Russell 2000. I got one name. It came up. I got UTL. And this thing looks good. Danny, what do you think about UTL?
Yeah, it looks pretty good coming up to prior highs here, wicking right through that prior high from May 9th. Yeah, this could be nice. See a nice EMA expansion, stacked EMAs to the upside. RSI isn't overbought. No squeezes on the 30-minute going up to the daily. It looks like we're 4 dots into a daily squeeze. So I think we potentially could have another 2 to 4 day rally to the upside. I would be careful taking breakouts here. I would wait for maybe a breakout, possible retest. You do have some highs in the let's see, in the $57 to $59 region, but I think there's definitely a trade there.
Yeah, so like there's just a quick example of, I had never heard of the stock before. Unitil Corporation, UTL, I'd never traded it. Just ran the scan based off of pattern candle recognition, and we were able to find it. So the value of having resources beyond, just looking at charts, but then again, like Danny said, having these combined with training your eyes to recognize them is really the most valuable thing. When we were at the conference this weekend, Nick Shaheen, who was great on stage, was really, he had some good lines in there about your eyes just being that ultimate tool and then complementing them with, pattern recognition and other things, which obviously we have, built machines to do for us. Okay, let's pull back to some of these names. I saw some more tickers came in. Ben, would you like to take a look at Drio, D-R-I-O? This was actually a different Ben, Story Trading Ben's pick of the week last week. It ran 50%. He won the weekly round, and then today it actually ran another 11.5%.
Definitely somebody's interested here off of the bottom because it's had a really nice run going from, what's up, 440s and now 720s. So yeah, it's had a a huge run back above year-to-date. Anchored VWAP is one of the things I keep on all my charts, and it's pushing back above there today, back above all the short-term moving averages, 10, 20, 50, 65. Those are all the ones that, are the key moving averages for me. And then, this, it's pretty thin. I was looking to see like maybe if a big fund or something came in. It only has 95 funds and it only trades about 230,000 as far as volume per day. So when we say thin, that's what we're referring to, is that the volume is a little bit light on average. Usually look for 300,000 or more, ideally more than 500,000 average volume. But I mean, no doubt, nice run here. You get through these 730 levels. Looks like you've got a shot at maybe 930 level. And then obviously $10 becomes an important level, the round number. And then above there, you have the 200 day above 11. I'm assuming this is came off of EPS, I'm betting. Let me, yeah. So earnings was the catalyst here. So that's one of those that really responds well post earnings. It looks like they had a huge earnings surprise. They beat by 46 cents. So looks like they were actually supposed to be negative or flat, and they made 46 cents. So their blood glucose monitors for smartphones, obviously, they're doing something right. Their revenues increased 124%. That's like fourth straight from what I see of triple-digit revenue growth. So that's your catalyst. That's why this is moving, from 450 to mid sevens in just 4 sessions. Let's take a look. Sometimes I like to look too at short interest because that will, yeah. So you had 8% of the float in this was short. That means it takes on average volume over 6 days to cover. So you'll not only have the natural buyers in there coming in wanting to buy that good report, but also you'll have shorts that need to cover. And that's kind of that combination is what makes something nearly double in 4 days. So that's basically what I'm seeing there with DRIO. But I mean, if I was long, I'd stay with it. Not my cup of tea coming off of the bottom, but Ben did a good job there. If he came in, pre earnings or anywhere over the last couple weeks, he's up nicely in the name. And look at that volume. That's kind of, if you are going bottom fishing for something like this, when it moves back above those key moving averages, that's the kind of volume you want to see. Coming in, you had on that post EPS day, the volume was 165% above average. That's only, about 600K, but still, that's what you want to see. He probably has a better idea, deeper understanding of what the story is behind it. But congrats, it's a nice move.
And if I could say really quickly, the day after earnings, it put in an outside day. It was a bullish outside double close key reversal. Look at the move it made off of that. So really important. I really love that outside bar that closes over the prior two closes. Really strong.
Similar to what we refer to as 3-bar break. I think I hear that term also, where you're taking out. You mentioned taking out the last 2 highs too. Yeah. So some may have also heard of it as a 3-bar break. I think it's very similar.
Okay, cool. Got it. Appreciate the analysis there. All right, Danny, let me throw another one of these your way. And just a reminder to everybody, you can feel free to drop tickers on pretty much any of my recent posts. I've got like 3 or 4 that are up now, so I won't say it was my last one, but feel free to keep them coming. We're happy to go for another 10 to 20 here. Let's go on over to Danny and let's do UPS.
All right, taking a look at UPS. So looks like we had a false breakout the week of January 31st, put it in an inside day, lost that to the downside, tried to recover over 220, which was the May 21 highs. And ever since that candle, that failed breakout, it just has been coming down. Now, the last 3 weeks, this is interesting. So we have an inside week this week. Our high is over the last 2 week highs. Let me go down to the daily chart. We also had off of that 220 rejection, we had a squeeze setting up on the weekly, and then 5 weeks ago, we had a squeeze firing to the downside. So nice squeeze action to the downside on that higher time frame. Now looking at the daily chart, we came into oversold conditions going into earnings on the 26th. A little bit of a pop after that, but it's continued to sell off. Now let's see, I'm just going to draw this out. It looks like we might be trying to break that down channel here to the upside. We're sitting right on top of that down channel with RSI rising, no squeezes to note on the higher time frames. I mean, it looks interesting here, but it still looks pretty weak. I would say I would get interested probably over 188. I see some lower wicks from May that are hitting that level. So I think over 188, it looks interesting for a swing. On the lower time frames, I would watch 183.85. I think if you get a break and hold on a 30-minute time frame over 183.85, then you could see a move up to 190. You also have a small gap from 188 to 189 in that time frame, and a bit of a supply zone up above. But I think this looks pretty good over 183.85. You see a nice little supply or volume gap. And then you'll hit that supply zone right around 189, 190. So it looks okay for a short-term trade over that level, but for a swing, I definitely want to see it a bit higher, like over 188 to 190.
Okay, got it. Hey, Danny, did you realize that Upstart hit $25 per share last week?
That's just nuts.
Yeah, having a bit of a bounce today, up 18%. It's actually almost up 100% from the lows.
Yeah, I mean, the way you could look at it, it gapped down considerably on earnings, right? So now we have a huge volume gap. And so price, there's not that much friction here to the upside, so you can see an accelerated move. So interesting. I just put up the UPST chart, and when I saw earnings, I had two levels charted to the downside. One was 52.86, and then the other one was 45.74. Obviously, we gap below both those levels. I was watching it on that earnings sell-off, but now today we wicked and stopped right at that 45.74 level. So I think if we can crack through that 45.74 level, I mean, this thing could definitely crank higher. I think it was well oversold, but Wall Street does what Wall Street does. But yeah, I think there's definitely potential for this to make a nice screaming move higher. We just need cooperation from the broader market, and hopefully a nice signal from Jay Powell in about an hour or so.
Yeah, that'll definitely be interesting if we see that movement. Ben, are you doing anything kind of playing around Jay Powell, or just kind of going cash at the moment there?
No, I've got some positions on, and I trimmed a little bit at the opening, very little bit. I just added to STZ. I probably am going to regret doing it in front of JPOW, but this is like what we talked about earlier. If you look at Constellation Brands, STZ, inside day, yesterday, I already had a small position in it. Inside day came out to the upside. That was over 250.71. Then you're breaking the descending trend line there. You've got a pivot above it, 258, but this is kind of textbook what we talked about earlier. So I'm basically just managing positions that I'm already in. I trimmed a little bit of Merck MRK yesterday. Still have a core position in that, which is acting well today. But I'm going to kind of wait until after Jay Powell comes out with his comments and I can kind of see the reaction before getting too aggressive. I do have some other names that I'm watching. But, I would have loved to take, a couple more if that wasn't on deck at 2:00, but that's kind of a big risk to kind of jump into something right in front of that, and the reactions to those kind of been binary. It's either been a very good reaction or a very bad reaction, and I try to avoid those kind of coin toss situations. But take a look
Ben,
at.
did you use a scanner to find STZ there?
I did, and I mean, I was already in it, and the initial kind of clue that said, "Hey, take a look at STZ," was actually back on. It was an inside day on 5-3. That was the first one, and then that next day, it came ripping out of there and was up 3.5%. So that move is what put it on my radar. Then I saw it pull back again. And then, it came up on my scan again yesterday as an inside day. And nice move out of there today, came through. I had a descending trend line drawn on there, from 261.52. I'll share my chart so you can kind of see what I'm referring to. But came through there and acting well today. This is in a group too that's acting well. They have a little bit of cannabis exposure too, and that they own CGC. They're a big. I think it's like 36% of that company that they own. But look at the pattern, beautiful cup with handle pattern. There's not much that's trading looking like that in that clean. You've seen other names in the group like TAP and KO and a few others acting well within that group. So that's kind of what gets my attention is, the group is acting well and A rated, and a couple other names in the group acting well. Then it gets put on my, watch list. And then when I scan for those inside days, pops right up.
Perfect. Yeah, that's definitely a great call. I recommend everyone take a look at that chart. There are just some good-looking charts and some bad-looking charts, and this is one of the good-looking ones. And the more of those you have in front of you, the more you're likely to hit something. Oh yeah. Okay. All right. Let's take a look and see what else is going on here. Danny, do you have any open positions currently?
Just NVIDIA, it's my second roll up. It's a little down now. It's down about like 35%. It's the 190Cs for this week, but in J Powell we trust. So it's profit at this point. So if it does, get hammered, it gets hammered. But that's the only day/swing that I'm holding right now.
Perfect. One other interesting one that I would like, maybe, hey, Jason, maybe you want to look at this one, is wheat, WEAT. So we got news 2 days ago, I believe, that India had officially, or maybe it's 2 to 3 days, had banned the exports of wheat. Tecurium Wheat Fund, which is WEAT, is based out of the Chicago Board of Trade Wheat Future Contracts. So people were just kind of assuming that because the Indian one got banned, that ultimately there was, going to be some bullishness for Chicago. Not that we actually get that much exported wheat from India. So I'm kind of playing off of that. I posted about it the night of. It then ran, I think, like 4% today, but it's been on a heater regardless. Up 10% this month. And so yesterday I was looking at it and I wanted to take a position. However, I just didn't think it was going to move enough for options. It was true, it didn't. So I took common shares yesterday. They're up about 1.5% today. Would love to just kind of get your thoughts here as it looks to break back through those March 7 highs.
Yeah, sure. I mean, this one's pretty darn extended, Gav. I wouldn't be shocked to see that wick from Yeah, those March highs. I wouldn't be shocked to see it retrace that whole wick and go back and try and gain 1273, which was the high in March. If it got there, or when it gets there, I would probably be a seller. Just because, 3 months, this thing is almost a double in 3 months. Of course, these sorts of things can go a lot longer than anybody anticipates. If you're short term, if you're trying to play options short term, I'd be a little bit more careful, and I'd probably be trying to look for a pullback. That 1017 level is kind of the last gained big level on the monthly. So personally, what I would be looking for is a pullback to that level. My guess is that these shortages do continue to persist, right? Like we can't just instantly cover all of the wheat that we're losing from Ukraine and Russia. So I imagine that this thing will probably continue to gain. Will it continue to rip the way it has for the past 3 or 4 months? I don't know. It's hard to say. But over the 1273 level, you gain that high, and you're probably going to keep on gaining. Maybe not before a pullback. You're very likely to get a pullback too. So I would be looking for closer to 10 to be kind of taking a longer term long position. And my targets would probably be in the neighborhood of like 16 and a half up to about 17, which are those, let's see, what year is this? We're going back now to April 14th, or rather April 2014 highs. That's your next big major pivot level. So over 1275 or so, it probably will eventually find its way back to 17, but I would personally be looking for a pullback to the 10 area before being willing to take that 17 bias trade. You could even maybe pull back to 7.5. Will it in this environment? I don't know. Probably not. Probably not soon, but it could.
Gav, you should jump on the monthly chart, draw your fibs out, fib retracement from the all-time high to all-time low. It's pretty crazy. But what you were saying, Jason, so the 618 retrace is at 1788. And we have the 382 retrace at 1289 and the 236 retrace at 981. So those numbers really align with what you were just talking about.
Yep, it's just you're looking at the fibs and I'm just looking at price levels, but price levels have a tendency to respect those big fib levels too.
I'm drawing them right now. So we're going from right up here at the like $26 level.
Exactly. We are also 11 months into it.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
And look at the RSI on the monthly. It's bonkers.
Right. And but also volume too. I mean, insane volume these past 4 months, bigger volume than you've seen ever in this name historically. So there's something to this, but it could take some time to play out. If you're going to play options with the intention of those options finding their way back to that 50% retrace or that 0.618 retrace, just be prepared for that to take some time because it very well could.
Perfect. Okay. I appreciate all the insight there. Yeah, I mean, I am holding just commons and about 5% under my entry point. So I'm not taking any large losses on this. It's just, potential. Right now, I mean, I could even move this stop up because I'm already up a couple percent on the position. And we'll see. I'm just going to play this one tightly, but I do think, hey, if there's breakout potential, I want to at least have some exposure to it. Okay, let's see what else is going on here. Just looking at a couple of these other names that got sent in here. All right. So another one which has been on my radar because people are actually buying it up here, and I see people still adding to it. I'm wondering if maybe this is just at some point people have to get out. Is PLTR. Ben, any thoughts here?
PLTR is just a huge disappointment. You know, I've been in it in the past, and it didn't act well back then, and now you kind of, if you take the gap and add an anchored VWAP to that, you're back above that, and you've kind of built out a volume shelf there as well, and you're kind of in a little window now where you could fill that gap. But as you come up into that, filling that gap, and let's say that's 940 area, and you're filling that gap, there's just so many levels now of resistance above, and the huge volume in that too on the way down. If you even going back to February, when it broke and gapped lower in February, that was on huge downside volume. You see that again now in May, when you're gapping down in those big red volume candles like that. That just somebody wants to get out. They don't care what the price is. Just get me out. You don't like to get involved in. I don't like to get involved in those situations because I never know when they're going to step back in with that real aggressive, just get me out. I guess you could use anchored VWAP if you were, really wanted to get involved here. Anchored VWAP off of that most recent gap down. Let's see what level that comes in at. Right about, so it's about $7.60, let's say. So I guess you could bench risk against there. I'd like to see it tighter and kind of come in and retest that anchored VWAP, and then see that act as support and make the turn. Because right now, you're taking on 8%, 9% risk getting involved here. Just an ugly chart. And I also look at relative strength. It's a big part of what I do. And when relative strength rating goes from 0 to 99, and this is a 10, so it's about as bad as it gets. I mean, short term, you can look and see if maybe it pushes back above the 10-day moving average at 840. If so, maybe that gives you a run back towards the 20-day 950, 960 area. But there's just so much other stuff out there that I would want to, take a shot at or get involved with versus something like Palantir down here. I look at their sales numbers. They're steady trending in the wrong direction, going from 49 to 36 to 34 to 31. You want to see that go in the opposite direction. Earnings the last couple quarters down 60 and 50%. That's in the wrong direction. Looking ahead, you do have annual EPS growth, of 23% and then 50%. But the chart really just not reflecting that at all. And to me, just says somebody really wants to get out.
Yep. I think that makes sense to me. It definitely just continues on this pattern. Hey, Danny, here's another interesting one, which has been a little bit of a comeback story over the last week. And, people were kind of telling me to sell this down in the 30s, but I've held it, and now it's up almost 100% since, is Celsius, CELH. Attempting to make a comeback here, almost through the 60s. Had great earnings, blew numbers out of the water. And has since earnings run up from $38 to $58 in just about a week.
Yeah, it looks good. However, I don't want to burst your bubble. If you go out to the weekly chart, it does look like a massive head and shoulders pattern here. So what I'd want to see this is through 70. That will take out the left shoulder. It doesn't get us out of the woods. But yeah, I mean, it's also got a 2-dot squeeze setting up here on the weekly with momentum shifting to the upside, and we're sitting right on top of RSI 50. So it looks like this can continue to the upside. I would watch in the next couple of weeks to see if we can get that fired up. And if we can get through 70, I think it's got a shot to go back up to all-time highs. But what concerns me is that nasty head and shoulders here. But nice volume last week I just want to see, do we get a continuation breakout? Currently putting in an inside week, I think. Let me just double check because it's pretty close. Actually, no, it's not an inside week. Our wick came above last week's high. So yeah, I mean, I would watch for the close this week. That might be telling. I think anything over 59.31, you got a shot up to 66, and then potentially up to 70. I think over 70, it kind of flips that left shoulder, and you might be in good shape there. But yeah, it's nice recovery. That wick right down to 41.37. That was the low back in the week of March 22nd and 21. So that was a really nice dip buying opportunity for anybody that was paying attention.
Absolutely. Okay, so we are at about 10:10 here. I think we're going to move into, I'm just going to see if there's any more tickers that have been submitted. If they are, we are going to hit your tickers. If not, we are going to go ahead and go into closing comments. One more time reminder, if you want to check out some of the tools we're using, and I see a bunch of you have been clicking into it, we have the single largest discount code for TrendSpider available. It is literally in this space right now. Just go ahead, pinned up top. It is the post that starts with the absolute worst way to trade is. The code is built into it. So if you click on that link, you're going to get taken to a custom homepage for TrendSpider, and you'll see it'll say for Wolf Spaces listeners, here's a 40% discount code. It is also in the link in my bio. It is one of the top links in there. I do not trade without TrendSpider. I use it for a whole bunch of stuff, for finding the setup, for making sure that I am comfortable with the breakout or breakdown, for having an understanding of where to get in, where to get out. I also use it for a bunch of other pieces. I get my unusual options data. It's all built in there. I get all my insider trading data. That's built in there. My scanners, I can follow other people's scanners like Ben's and other people's. I have direct access to their team, heat maps, and a bunch more. So come back in future weeks. We do this at 12 p.m. EST every single week, and we always try to both chart but also teach people how to be doing this, because you can't just follow others forever into trades. You have to understand how to get in, how to get out, and how to build that mindset. Otherwise, you don't have that edge. You have the ability to have an edge here. Take it. With that being said, let's pull back and just see if there were any other tickers submitted that I did not get to yet. Okay, I see a couple here, so I'm going to go ahead and throw them. Here's two for you, Ben. One is SU, and the other one is PBR.
SU. Yeah, new highs. New highs are always good. Anytime you're pushing into new highs, that's what you want to see. Everybody's green. You got to go all the way back to 2018, the last time it traded at these levels. So obviously, oil and gas has been a go-to sector. I mean, just on fire. A lot of names in that group hitting new highs. Oil's trading at 114 now or so. Yeah, so a lot of this reflected in the earnings of these names. SU in particular going from 250 to 580, and now you see price reacting. They had a great EPS report. They beat by 61 cents, and you're going to see that throughout this industry. So anytime they're trading into new highs like that, it's great. And you've seen kind of a steady pattern where this kind of moves into new highs, pulls back to the 50-day moving average, bounces new highs again, 50-day test, new highs. So I would just keep riding that as long as that pattern holds. PBR, almost new highs, 1524. The recent high would get it into new highs. I think that might be all-time. No, it's traded going back to like 2007, 2008. It traded much higher. PBR, name that I'm familiar with too. There's been a lot of call flow into that name. I've been watching that come across tape. And the whole oil and gas group, a lot of flow. They all tend to move together when they start moving into new highs. There's a reason for that. And when we talk about a lot of these growth stocks that don't have earnings and they're getting, decimated because they don't have earnings, it's the exact opposite in oil and gas. You look at a stock like this that's trading at 15, and they're going to make over $4 this year. So you've got a PE of under 4. Completely different mindset in these type of names. They're finding value there. As long as oil's trading up here at 113, 114 or higher, those earnings are going to look even better going forward. So as long as they keep pushing into new highs, you're in good shape. What I would watch for, though, I tend to keep one eye on crude, though, because you do have that saying, "Don't fight the Fed," and obviously the Fed is fighting that right now. It's a valiant effort, but it's not working with crude trading at 113, 114. But that's one of the things you do want to keep an eye on with these energy and oil and gas names. Keep an eye on XLE, keep an eye on OYH. But for right now, both of those, SU and PBR, trading either at new highs or very close to new highs, in good shape. And a lot of these are finding support, both of these finding support at the 50-day moving average. So if you're in early, like in something like this, if you're in since $9 or $10, just keep moving that stop up. You undercut the 50-day at 1170, then reclaim the 50-day moving average, bump that stop up to 1170. You got another opportunity now to bump it up another dollar. As it keeps moving into new highs, maybe you trim some, pulls back to the 50-day, add on a little more. But there's a lot of ways to approach it. But as long as you're moving into new highs, you're in good shape. That's exactly what you want to see.
Perfect. Okay, we got a couple more here, Danny. This is two that someone asked about playing to the downside with puts. One is CIM and one is MFA.
All right, let me get those up. So CIM, wow, that's a pretty wild ride. This is Chimera Investment Corporation. Jumping out to the weekly chart, we had a massive drop off on the COVID low. Let's take a look at where our retracement was. We retraced up to the 618, almost to the penny, rejected right off of that at 1690. That was back in November of 21, and that's now sending us much lower. We've drawn down past the 236 retracement, which tends to activate the lower retracement level right now, which is at 644. We're very oversold. We're almost as oversold as we were for those for that March COVID drop. So yeah, I mean, it's looking pretty weak here. No sign of a bounce coming. We've already retraced lower than the 618 retrace from the prior low to this current swing high off that 618 rejection at 1691. Maybe possible bounce here at 869. I see some support here looking left in the November of 2020. That's also our 786 retrace. So 869 could be a level of interest to watch. That's also our point of control volume bar. That starts at around 904 and ends at around 838. So that would probably be the area I would watch to see maybe a bounce, but this is looking it's looking pretty weak. Potential C wave here. Yeah, that's the area I would watch. 869 on CIM. The next one, MFA. This is definitely an MF stock. Wow, big drop here from 44 down to 15 on April 4th. I'm assuming that was on earnings. It was not on earnings. It was in between earnings. Okay. Let me go down to the daily chart because that weekly chart looks really, really ugly.
Yeah, I just saw that too. I'm pulling up the news, trying to figure out what that was.
Yeah, I don't know, but really heavy volume, above average volume since that drop on April 5th. It's been still floating down in a channel. Volume has still remained very elevated since that drop.
It's a stock split. It's a reverse stock split.
Oh, okay.
That makes 1-for-4.
Got it. So the one thing I'll say, I mean, so the split obviously sent RSI really tumbling down. we have a nice slingshot squeeze setting up to the upside. So basically, that's when you get a TTM squeeze. When the green dot turns red, you have negative momentum that's shifting up to the zero line that turns into positive momentum with the squeeze still setting up. And that's exactly what we're seeing. I'm also seeing a slight positive bullish divergence on the daily chart here. I don't know if we'll see that on the weekly. Yeah, not really going to see it on the weekly due to the split. So, yeah, I mean, there might be some potential to take this to the upside. What I would watch for is possibly a daily close over 1489. Looks like we just had earnings and we're selling off from earnings on May 4th. May the 4th was not with the stock. So let's see if we revisit that May 4th high, or the May 3rd high at 1487, 1489 in that range. I think over that level, I think you got a shot for this stock to start moving higher. I'd watch for some squeezes to fire off. Let me look at the lower time frame. Yeah, we're also in a 30-minute squeeze right now, but that is not looking like the greatest squeeze in the world here. We've got a lot of volume. We've got a lot of supply up above in the $13.90 to $14 range, and then a lot more supply in the $14.60 to $14.70 range. So it's definitely got its work cut out for it on its way back up. Just throw an anchored VWAP at the swing high. Yeah, so I think over $14, that's where I would get interested. That puts us over the swing high anchored VWAP, and it puts us over the supply zone up above. And then you got a supply gap up to about 1456 to 1474. So yeah, it doesn't look like the greatest stock, but could be interesting.
Okay, sounds good. All right, I think that unless anyone else submitted a ticker during the time of that, I think that that was all the tickers that have been submitted today, and we do appreciate y'all who went ahead and submitted those. Real quick, if you haven't already, and I'm sure many of you have during this, Ben and Danny are two incredible traders on here, and I say that not just because they have great returns, but because they take their knowledge and they just come and share for free on a daily basis. They educate, they teach, they give out free newsletters, workshops. They both offer mentorship services. So if you're looking to get started in this area, add them both to your timeline. I mean, go click in and make sure that you're following Ben and Danny. They have absolutely earned it. They've taught me a ton over the last year, and I'm just excited to continue to be able to learn from them. And then as well with Stock Market News and the TrendSpider account that are up here, two incredible accounts. Stock Market News is a great account for earnings, for love. I mean, on a day like today with Jay Powell, when you want to know exactly what he's saying right away, you follow Stock Market News. And with the TrendSpider account, obviously we've given enough effusive praise for how much we use the platform, but the account's a great spot too to be able to follow along. And they put out tons of charts, they put out insights on new features, stuff like that. And then I have my personal account up here too, just for transparency, if you do want to check that out. That is the Gob account. So with that, we'll go around and just get some closing comments here. Anything else anybody else wants to share one more time? Big shout out to TrendSpider for making this possible and supporting this space. I see I even got some notifications. Some of y'all signed up with them during this space. Again, you can try it out completely free for 7 days. Might as well do it when there's volatility, right? Take advantage. And let's get into some closing thoughts here. Danny, would you like to go first?
Sure. First and foremost, AMD really strong here, up 9%, coming up on 103. So AMD is looking really, really strong here. Market's starting to look a little better coming into the Powell talk. That's going to be in 37 minutes. So expect some volatility around that. By the way, I noticed a new icon down below in Spaces, this little scissor icon. Did you see this?
Oh, they gave it? I've had it for a couple months, yeah.
Okay, interesting. What for?
It's so useless.
Is it really?
Okay. So what it's supposed to do, or maybe it's getting useful now. Here's why it was useless. There's a scissor icon. It's right next to the blue button. What it does is when you click it, it clips the last 30 seconds of the space and allows you to share that as a tweet.
Oh,
the
interesting.
problem is it was so useless for me because other people who don't have access to it, they don't see it as a clip of the space. Instead, they just see you sharing the space out.
Oh, okay.
So I was sharing these clips, but nobody could watch them.
Oh. Well, that's pretty useless.
Yes. So hopefully now that you're getting it and others, it'll actually be useful and I can share these clips and it doesn't just look like I'm just because I shared like 3 or 4 and people are like, why are you tweeting out the space so much? I was like, what do you
I'm
mean?
curious if it's just for speakers or if it's also for audience. If anybody in the audience has that little scissor icon, want to throw up some emojis, maybe a clap.
I don't think that they have it, to be honest. I'm
So
pretty
maybe
sure
it's just
I
speakers.
think it's just speakers, but it'd be cool. It'd be cool if they had it too.
Yeah,
Because I know
I mean, it would make
hey,
sense.
Abbas just threw out the clap. I see him in the audience.
Okay, it would make sense for the audience to have it, just to spread the word on the space.
Hey, I'm
Cool.
the speaker and I don't have it.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're still testing it out.
Okay, interesting. But yeah, in any event, listen, we've got Jay Powell coming up in 35 minutes. I think that will give us. I don't think there's anything groundbreaking that's going to be said. Expect volatility while he's talking. But the market is looking a little resilient here. I think as long as he doesn't say anything too hawkish, I think we'll be okay. I think maybe we continue to bounce this week. Maybe get that continuation that we were all looking for yesterday that we kind of didn't get. But we had a nice gap up today. So let's see if we get this nice strong close. I'm looking for a nice strong close in power hour. And let's see if we can get some constructive price action for the rest of the week. But yeah, listen, appreciate you, Ben, Jason, stock market news. Obviously, you, Gav, and obviously everybody that continues to attend these spaces. You guys and gals out there really are the rock stars up here because you're continually supporting us and you're continuing your education in this market. I know it can't be easy for a lot of you out there that have been trading over the last couple of years, but as long as you remain patient, remain diligent, and continue to keep your eyes open and observe price action. Understand what's happening in the market right now. Once this market starts to flip back to the upside and starts to trend, and growth stocks and tech start to run, you'll have that built-in muscle memory of what a bear market looks like. Don't know if it's gonna be in weeks or months. It could last a lot longer than that. But just understand that these cycles do come back, and next time it comes around, you'll be better prepared for it. So hope to see you all on the next one. Appreciate you all out there, and let's see if we can get this market going.
Perfect. Thank you, Danny. Looking forward to our next space. You can hop on the power hour.
Count me in.
Sounds good. Yeah, we're going to be doing a power hour for anyone that's interested. That is going to be 3 p.m. EST today. We're going to have on several traders. Power Hour is going to be supported by Trade Ideas News. That is the @Trade Ideas News on Twitter. They do some other interesting stuff. It's kind of helps with like some software and pieces like that. So you can check us out then. It's supposed to be some like AI type stuff to help with like some of your discovery of new names. So hey, we're all about it, right? We talked about find and watch us and stuff like that. Might as well check it out then. I'll share some GIFs and things like that then. All right. With that being said, Ben, coming over to you.
Cool. Yeah, just waiting on Jay Powell at this point, and just to follow up on what Danny said. Yeah, expect some volatility there, and we'll see how the market absorbs it. I think he was exactly right. Where on Friday's close, kind of caught us leaning one direction on Monday, and the market had other ideas, and then caught us leaning the other direction after a bad close yesterday, and went the other way today. So. That's the market's job, is to fool the majority, and I think Danny's right on point as usual there. And yeah, now we just have to see how do we react to those comments. But always a pleasure joining you and Danny, and stock market news, and it's always a great show on Tuesdays. Always enjoy it, and I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed too that the next few we're able to talk about more stocks that are in uptrends and breaking out, and maybe some growth names that even look good. So that's what I'm really looking forward to down the road, getting into a healthier market where growth stocks are participating.
Love it, Ben. Yeah, absolutely. This has been one of the best spaces that we've had going on a weekly basis. We love coming in here, taking names from the crowd, teaching people some different pieces with technical analysis, talking about how to find and discover these names, watch lists. It's awesome. And again, big shout out to Ben and Danny for what they do. All right, Jason, bringing it to you to bring us home here. Anything else you would like to add on or talk about?
Sure thing. Yeah. As always, thank you for having us on, and it's a pleasure being here with everybody. And like I always say, markets are always difficult, even when things are up only. It still can be difficult. So, in order to trade the markets correctly, you really need the best tools. It's my opinion and the opinion of many others that TrendSpider is the best tool. Whether you're, a very short-term trader, swing trader, we've got tools available that can help you, make your process easier, make your process faster. We can learn a lot about the markets from learning technical analysis. So, and of course, we have a team on hand there to assist you with any product questions. If you are thinking about signing up for an account with us, there is no better time than right now. I mean, Gav, you have the best deal that is available. So if you're on the sidelines, but you're kind of feeling like maybe it's time to pull the trigger and get an account, do it now, because you're not going to get a better deal than what Gav is offering. And again, like I say, and like I always say, we have team members on hand to assist you, get you up and running, help answer any questions that you have. That is a piece or a functionality of our platform that no other platform offers. The ability to speak to a product expert anytime you need to and for free. It's a huge value add, in my opinion. I'm a little biased. I was on that team for almost 2 years, but it's a great team of guys, and they can really help out a lot. So please take advantage of them. And then I guess last thing, Ben and I'm very fortunate to get to hang out with Ben 2 times in a row today. He and I are going to be hanging out on YouTube at 4:30 Eastern time. We're going to be doing a live chart review session. If you've never tuned into one of our chart request live sessions, they're super fun. You can vote for symbols that you want us to chart. You can vote for 3 symbols per round, and we usually get through somewhere around 15 to 20 symbols in the hour that we have allotted. So if you're curious for a little bit more in-depth analysis or maybe a visual component to the analysis, join us today at 4:30 Eastern, TrendSpider TV on YouTube. We're going to be talking shop. He's going to be giving us his thoughts on whatever names you guys send to us. So that should be really fun.
Very exciting. Yeah, that's perfect timing. We'll probably be wrapping up our Power Hour space right around 4:15, 4:30. So we'll send them over your way.
You got them working hard today.
Yeah, everybody in the audience, just listen. We want you to be educated and to have an opportunity to.
Hey, I'm really looking forward to this too. And people personally don't think they realize how great of a trader Jason is. I really, he's massively underfollowed on Twitter. He really is awesome. So I can't wait to join him this afternoon.
Completely agree. I had the chance to spend a lot of time with Jason. Learn some blackjack tips as well. So Jason, you're a man of many talents.
I'm trying, man. I'm trying.
I love it. Yeah, we caught some craps and blackjack for several hours this weekend. Shout out FinTwit Conference. Thanks to everybody that joined us. All right, that is going to do it for this space. This was awesome. Thank you everyone who tuned in. Hope you all enjoyed. We'll be back again doing it next week, 12 p.m. EST, same time. But today, the next space is going to be in just a couple of hours at 3 p.m. EST for Power Hour. You can join us on there. It'll be a new link. We'll put that link out right after this one closes. You can go to my page and check it out. If you don't want to miss any Twitter Spaces, you can go on my page and hit the notifications button, and you can turn them on just for Spaces. It's a special feature. It does not give you a notification every time I tweet. It is very, very useful. I recommend doing it. Just turn the notifications on for Spaces so you don't miss spaces like these and so many others that we have throughout the day in the stocks world, the crypto world, NFTs, real estate, whatever it is. there is something for you. All right, everybody, take care. See you on the next one in a couple of hours.